Greater Richland Tourism is our subject on the morning show today from WRCO Radio. He takes his assigned seat here today. Marty Richards is back with us. How you doing, Marty?
Assigned seat. That sounds familiar, Phil.
Over in the corner.
This time of year, it's more than just birds dive bombing your cars. That it's like, oh, spring's here. Well, wait a minute, summer's right around the corner. It's, there's a lot happening. When you hit May, the weekend events really come fast and furious. And, it's kind of exciting because when the weather changes, we're all ready to go. And this weekend is really cool because the Hub City Dirt Drags, and some folks may or may not be familiar with them, but this has been an event that's been in Hub City for, I'm going to get it wrong. I believe it's 4 years. This would be like their fifth year-ish, somewhere in their fourth or fifth. And Riley Anderson has been a big organizer of that from the start. His family really supported, and he's got some real key sponsors that really helped make it happen. Well, what happened was it really gained popularity. And they've gotten to the point where Hub City couldn't contain it. And so last year they made the decision in their fall event that, okay, we better move this to the Richland County Fairgrounds. They did that, and that helped them because now there's more space. So they can offer more events. The event really is growing like crazy. This Friday, starting at 6. So from 6 to 9 o'clock, there's a truck and tractor pull. Then at 9 o'clock, they have live music with Sean Shell. And then on Saturday, the action gets going again at 10 o'clock. It'll run until 9 o'clock on Saturday with Show and Shine truck show. They have the dirt bike drags, ATV drags, the truck drags. They also have a ladies area where so really I think when you think about the popularity of trucks and people tricking out their trucks, there's some car manufacturers now that don't make a sedan, a 4-door sedan. It's all crossover SUV truck. And the women have really gotten into owning trucks and tricking them out. One big thing I would mention to the public, if you have a civic organization or a sports club or any kind of public entity that you're looking for a fundraising opportunity, they do have a couple of opportunities still available for your group to help out, and then the civic group would get a payment. I believe they're up around $500 for that effort. And it's not for the whole weekend. It's for a certain slot of time on one day. You'd get a hold of Lacey Steffes and her number, 608-778-7434. And Lacey be thrilled to hear from you. But it's a pretty quick $500 contribution to that group. And that'd be one way if you're really trying to figure out fundraising, one way to do it. So yeah, and then also I think today's kind of an exciting day for me. A lot of folks in the area have really been picking up and utilizing the Richland area farmers market, and the farmers market growth has been phenomenal. They've basically doubled their customer count over the last 3 years, and it was at the depot or at the visitor center. And that was a nice location for them because there were bathrooms right there. They had Wi-Fi connectivity. It really gave a sense of energy because everybody drove by, saw it. There was a lot of activity right there on State Highway 14, Orange Street, and it really looked like an event. However, with a growth in numbers like that, it became a little tricky because of just traffic concerns, parking concerns. A lot of folks with mobility challenges utilize the farmers market, and so getting parking close enough was a concern. But then also the foot traffic started to create some concerns. People crossing Seminary with a light right there. The light turns green, all of a sudden people are in the middle of the street crossing, and so it became a little hazardous. So they outgrew the spot. So they've moved 1 block to the west and on the other side of Quick Trip, basically. So you just go a little bit further down Orange Street, and they've got plenty of open area there where they're going to be set up today. That starts today at 1:30. We'll run to 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on how the vendors hold out this time of year. A lot of produce is not there yet, of course, or is just getting planted. But there are some that have greenhouses too, I know. So there will be a good selection of items there.
Always exciting. It's kind of the real turning point of the season, I think, isn't it?
It is. The Richland area farmers market, I kind of get a kick out of folks that they wish they had it on Saturday. But listen, there's so many farmers markets on Saturdays that create a demand for those vendors. And so really what's happened, the Richland area farmer market, Ricky and Jane really saw, oh, wait a minute, here's an opportunity. And they've kind of created their space, and people look forward to it. They really do a nice job of running that farmer's market. People, not just people looking to buy goods. There's a little bit of community and socialization that goes there. They also cater to children. There's different things they have for kids during that event as well. So, yeah, it's almost like having a mini community event once a week. It's in the middle of the week, and they've moved those times. I know they've worked hard to try to make it so that people, no matter what shift they're working, can get to it. They've slid back the finish time a little bit. So you're right. It's when the farmers market starts, it's like, all right, summer is right here. And the dairy, opened as well. So that's another kind of a sign that okay, we're headed right into the warm temps.
We are. Things we look forward to. Today actually is National Tourism Day. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
I am. Yep.
Your visit
I'm
is
waiting
quite
for
timely.
Flowers.
Oh yeah.
I'm just waiting for the flowers, recognizing that. And
I kind of forgot about that.
I'll be waiting a long time, Phil. So, and also this week, things going on this week. Don't forget, you had them on yesterday. The Jammers will be performing at the City Auditorium this Friday, $10 at the door, and that they sound like a group that could, and like we were talking, their playlist really sound like a treat. Would be very interesting and a lot of fun. And then another, just real quick. The Muscadet Morel Mushroom Festival is next weekend. And I know some folks may wonder, why you're Greater Richland Tourism, why you're promoting the Mushroom Festival. And this came up at our last Tourism Commission meeting, Richland Center Tourism Commission meeting. They were kind of just the commission was asking, well, can you give me some ideas of how you determine what we promote and what we don't promote? And Muscadet is not in the county. Well, you'll notice the name Greater Richland Tourism it's not specific to the county. And what we look at, and really the state legislation kind of does this a bit, that created the room tax, that funds the work we do, and that tells us what is acceptable for us to promote. And really it comes down to three questions. One, you have to satisfy one of the three questions. And one is the promotion of an event or resource that you give to an event, does it have a high likelihood of increasing the number of overnight stays in your area that you're receiving room tax from, is number one. Number two, is it the development of a reasonable tourism activity and they use area, which is kind of wide. And then the third one is kind of goofy, and that is, to use those tax dollars for that. Is it the construction of a facility that would then promote more overnight stays? Well, we're not at the point that we can start having a discussion about building a convention center, so we don't have to worry about number three so much. But number one and two, I think the Mushroom Festival very easily enters into that, because one of our townships that collects room tax and supports our work is Eagle Township. And Eagle Township, they definitely have stays where people come, stay, go to the Mushroom Festival. It's they're 3 nights now, or 3 days. And I know even our own in Ithaca Township, I know there are folks that come and stay in our short-term rentals and then go to the Mushroom Festival. I get phone calls from basically a 4-state area. Morel mushrooms are a huge draw. And when you think about it, it's that scarcity factor, right? Because they haven't figured out how to really commercially grow them. They come, and they're mysterious. I've stepped on more than I've found. I've I've had a lot of locals, younger guys, say, geez, I'll bet you're really good at finding mushrooms. I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I've probably found maybe a half a pound in my life. And I've stepped on more than I've seen. I've even been our great mushroom hunter wizard that we know, Brian Alvin.
Best in 4 counties.
That's right. Just ask him. He'll tell you. But, sorry, Brian. But what happens is, I've been with guys like that they're like, Marty, you're standing on mushrooms, and it's just, the ADHD kicks in. I cannot focus.
Right. I think some of it, you got to get low too, and especially if a little grass is coming up, it's hard to see them sometimes.
We did a video, and we'll put that out there again this year. This is the season to do it, where Brian does do a primer of how to go mushroom hunting. And that's one of the things he talked about that I never thought about, was it come from the downhill side and go uphill, because then your eye level is better with where you'll find them. And I just, gosh, that's expert tip, pro tip right here. So anyway, the Mushroom Festival will be a big deal, and you'll see that really hitting our social media here very soon. And that's a big deal for our area that does produce a lot more overnight stays.
Yeah, look forward to it. I know you had you wanted to talk a little bit about a big idea you have, city utilities.
Well, hold the phone. I do not.
It's not
have
your
a
idea?
No. So City Utility Superintendent Scott Gald came to me and said, and also Jim Schwingle, who's with WPPI Energy. They said, hey, we've done this fall utility cookout, and it's always been really good response. And I've been there with Greater Richland Tourism as handing out resource there, and it's a lot of folks come up and we get good information. It's good discussion. And we kind of talk about things we're looking forward to in the future and things they can do that fall. And Scott and I do not agree on a lot. We like to argue. Jokingly, we enjoy the banter back and forth, and I know there's people that see us together and wonder, do those guys get along? But we like to good-natured ribbing, we would call that. But I agree with him on this, and both he and I get frustrated when people will say a week after an event or a few days after an event, gosh, I wish I would have known about that or I would have gone. Well, I struggle with that because any event in this area, if you're on social media or like today where we're sharing information, we also do print advertising and broadcast and online streaming. I'm not sure how we're missing that connection. But Scott and Jim came to me and said, hey, what do you think of a summer resource fair? Where so we've picked a date, Wednesday, May 28th, and you'll hear more about it, where I think Scott's coming in to chat with you about it, where we will have that same utilities. We'll be doing a cookout, but then we have several vendors who have committed, and we're actually quite excited about it. So like City Park and Rec, where people can come in and there will be different vendors set up that will be able to tell you about the different opportunities that you or your kids can enjoy this summer. The Simon Center will have a representative there. It's not just the city. So like 80 German Warehouse will have a representative there, Greater Richland Area Chamber. But Driftless Music Gardens, Cricket, has been looking for ways to engage with local community more. And she was like, absolutely, we'll be there. We really like that idea. And then Partners for Prevention will be there talking about National Night Out. English Prairie Distillery out of Muscadet really wants to get, the local community that they have had a great run up and start. But they've mentioned, they said, boy, we get a lot of visitors here, but it'd be nice to engage more of the local community. And so this is an opportunity for area residents, and you're going to hear a bunch about it. You'll see it on the digital billboard. You'll hear me talk about it here, and when Scott comes in, you'll also see more coming up on social media informing you what it is. But I would say it's a good opportunity for all ages to come in. You'll get a meal from free meal. So free food always helps.
Good deal.
I'll go anywhere for a free sandwich. So, but you'll be able to come there and get the different information about the different events that happen here in the community and out in the greater Richland area. So I just think it's a good way for families to come in on a very social and enjoyable event. Just get the information that they would like. Now, one thing I would say, I've invited many different event organizers and people who run events to come and help share their information. If you're someone that has summer events that you'd like to make sure the public knows about, or you do tours or you do different things during the summer for residents to enjoy, make sure you reach out to me, because I don't know if I hit everybody or not. I'm going to go back through it again and try to make sure I've gotten everybody. But do not be afraid to reach out to me and say, hey, Marty, we'd like to be part of that summer resource fair where we can connect with the community and tell them more about what's going on. So,
did you give the date for that, Marty?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, May 28th.
May 28th, okay.
Yep,
Sounds
May 28th. Good. And it's going to run 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is what we settled on there. So again, don't be afraid to reach out. Sometimes I've heard people say, well, gosh, you didn't promote this. And I said, I did not know about it. Very rarely, and I'm thinking maybe twice in the last 5 years, has somebody said, hey, can you promote this? And, that's it, probably twice where I really didn't fit what we do. If it fits, if I can say, hey, this is something that a guest or a visitor to the area would enjoy, I'm going to put it in our social media, or if it is another opportunity for visitors, I'm going to promote it. There's a pretty big boundary on that. The other thing we do have coming up in August in the area, the Richland Area Crime Stoppers they've been working on this for almost 12 months already. I know they've done a lot of work, and I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. But they are going to run a mystery weekend, and that would be August 23rd and the 24th. And again, everything I'm talking about today, if you go to the Greater Richland area, if you go to greaterrichlandtourism.com and look at our calendar of events, everything's there. Now, I recently updated May and June, so July and August I'm working on one-man shop, right? Those items, that's a really good place for you to go to locate what are the events that are happening, is the calendar of events at greaterrichlandtourism.com. So we're looking forward to that, the mystery weekend. That'll be a 2-day whodunit. They've already kind of got the framework of what it is, and I don't want to steal their thunder, and plus I think it's still under development, but it's going to happen. And I know there's been really good energy from the downtown area to have this, and that's what it takes, because it's a full weekend of trying to figure out who did, and I don't know what the crime will be, but who did what. And it's just cool. You get to kind of get around and meet some of the merchants, but also see what's going on.
I can tell you, I didn't do it, but I said, do it. So,
Oh, here we go. That's a whole nother show, Phil. And all I want to say is I will not be testifying at that trial until I am guaranteed immunity that something I might say may implicate me in furtherance of other crimes. So
that's well said.
We'll leave it at that.
But I think it's important to mention your calendar. In fact, I just had somebody ask me the other day, Colorfest weekend. They're already making plans, and is that going to stay the first weekend in October?
It is.
Okay.
I just made that decision right now.
Okay.
There's an issue there. There always is, though. It never changes because you're battling homecomings, right? And this year we have the great fortune, and that was sarcasm, that Ithaca and Richland Center's homecoming is on the same Saturday, which happens to be the first Saturday in October. There's some problems with trying to move that. And I know Greater Richland Area Chamber is moving their wine walk to the previous weekend. We struggle with that because it is Center Color Fest, right? And typically we've been seeing the last 5 years since I've been involved, the colors are really starting to come into fruition that first weekend. Really, they're at their peak typically the next weekend or the weekend after throughout October. And so if we move it forward, we're really shortcutting the vision, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing that happens is that there are other vendors or other entities having different things. So the Richland Area Quilters Guild, Keewaydin Farms has events there that kind of match up nicely. Oakwood Fruit Farm always has their Customer Appreciation Day that weekend. And, they're very involved in Ithaca events, but they still always have that even when it's homecoming weekend. And I think because of various reasons, we're going to keep it that first Saturday in October. And the Tourism Commission, we had a little chat about that, and no one came out with a really good reason why we would move it other than there's so much going on. But at the same token, I always, I'll bring this up, and I've said there's nothing wrong with having multiple events in the same weekend.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right? Because you may connect somebody that's coming for one thing with something else, and it makes it busy. And quite honestly, from a lodging standpoint, in October in our area, that's one of our strongest weekends. So to say, well, if you moved it back a week, that would help with lodging, not really. The views, our fall views and our hills, our steep hills and the rolling hills with all the hardwood trees we get to see and the change in the colors, that lasts almost all of October, and October is one of the strongest months overall. So moving that weekend one way or the other for a lodging purpose to increase lodging, I don't think that benefits. It's the same. It's pretty equal. So yeah, that's a great question. And we battled it. I battled it quite a bit. And before you ask the question publicly, I was already leaning, I just don't see an overriding reason, because we always will hit a homecoming. That's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. So somebody can get their float ready. They can put it in the Richland Center Homecoming Parade, the Ithaca Parade, and then the nighttime lights parade then.
I hooked somebody on that last year. Someone, I can't remember. I think it was Pumpkin Fest. Those poor folks. They learned how Marty works with leverage. They were like, boy, we're real busy. And I just said, hey, you're going to have that float ready anyway. You might as well just the next day and just light it up instead of for daytime. And they kind of looked at me like, hey, son of a gun.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right. For float entries, a lot of folks will already have them ready. It's just one more night, just put some lights on them and away you go. And you don't have to have a generator these days for lights, right? Because there's a lot of, self lit different lights you can use, or just plug into a USB of the vehicle you're towing with and they'll light it.
Voila, there you go.
So there's some easy way to light things up.
We're getting set for the season on the Pine River, and we're going to transition to that next. But a big thing for tourism in the Richland Center area, isn't it?
It is. About a year ago, really a lot of thanks. And let me tell you, I've got new appreciation for what Mark and his crew were doing on the Pine River. But Mark and Pam McCauley, number one, were great stewards of the Pine River. Not just in the outfitting service they provided, but Mark had a crew of guys that would go out and they would keep the Pine. I don't know if Chuck Keller always gives me a hard time when I say navigable, but they had to keep it navigable. Another word maybe is kayakable. I don't know, but. And I always kind of knew what the issue was, but boy, I really see it now. You might remember those winds we had a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago, that were pretty tough for quite a while there. And we have been cleaning. So Dennis Fry and I have been cleaning from Bowens Mill to Mill Pond Park. And we can say today that you can actually kayak without getting out of your kayak and without having to duck, really. From Bowens Mill to Mill Pond Park. So it's open. And that took a lot of work. And one chainsaw ended up in the water. Fortunately, it was a good chainsaw and it recovered nicely. There is a way, if anybody ever does that and you want to know how to fix that, just let me know. It's not hard, actually, if you got a good chainsaw, but it was running when it went in, so there was a lot of water. But we got that going again, and there were some big trees. There is one tree that when you go down the Pine, you're going to see it, and it's huge. So we did get that open, and then we're fortunate that we do have, and Southwest Partners has kind of been a partner in trying to figure out how do we keep the Pine open for kayaking. It does take work, probably more than I'm willing to do for the whole stretch, and we do have folks that are willing to help us with more, because there's 2 big stretches yet up to the north, and we're going to get going on that one shortly too, from Rockbridge down. But we're real fortunate, and Jen's joining us here in the second half. But Jen Schrapp and her dad, Dennis Fry, have made an agreement to take over that effort of making sure we have an outfitter to help with rental, ferrying service, and different things on the Pine, because the Pine River is probably easily one of the top 3 things that people come to our area to enjoy in the summer, and really picking up here in the next week or 2. So it was real important that we found a way to keep that happening. And I always give Pam and Mark a lot of credit, which they deserve, to get us where we're at today. But there were others too. I know Daniel Miller had a group beyond, more than 10 years ago, because Mark and Pam did it for 10 years. And there were folks before him that really saw that idea and started kind of moving that forward. But we're real fortunate. We've addressed, and one of the things I do as the tourism director is look, what are the risks? What are things that might harm travel to our area? And if we had to tell people, there's a lot of blockages on the Pine, really, I can't guarantee that would be an enjoyable experience. That would hurt us. That would not help with overnight stays. So I'm real happy to say that today I can sit here and say, hey, you can go kayaking on the Pine. I would suggest you don't start at Rockbridge, or you're going to wonder what my idea of kayaking is. But if you start at Bowens Mill and go down to Mill Pond Park, it's going to be really enjoyable.
Sounds like a good plan. We're going to talk to Jen Schrapp next. She's in the studio with us. Marty Richards from Greater Richland Tourism is with us as well. And we'll have more coming up on today's Wednesday morning show. On our morning show today from WRCO, we're going to focus on, for a little bit, kayaking the Pine. And joining us is Jen Fry, who joins us talking about the Pine River. Who would have ever thought back in the day that you'd be an expert on the Pine River now?
Right.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Tell us about the endeavor and how it came to be that you're going to be helping out with the Pine River this year.
Well, I grew up in the area and ended up in Green Bay for several years. And missed the driftless and, missed all the hills and the creeks and all of that. So ended up back down here, and the opportunity kind of just came up. I've always, my parents have always lived on the Pine. I've got a property now just north of them, so I'm right on the river. And I just love being out there on the water. And, Mark's done an amazing job over the last 10 years, building up the interest in kayaking the Pine, and like Marty said, keeping it cleaned out. I'm just excited to be able to step in and keep it going.
Is this a father-daughter venture then, is it?
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to take the charge, but Dad's definitely helping out too. He was out with Marty helping clear the river last week and this week, and he's going to be helping, shuttle people around, and yeah, he's definitely going to have a hand in it.
So you've kayaked the Pine River in the past. Do you remember doing that as a youngster?
Yes. Back to my high school days, we used to take exchange students out. Actually, when I was a little kid, we used to kayak the Kickapoo, or canoe the Kickapoo with exchange students. So it goes all the way back. And yeah, at any time I'm in the area, in the summertime when the weather's nice, I want to be out there on my kayak for sure.
So how will things work? Pretty much the same as they did with Mark and Pam as far as the rentals and everything?
I'm going to kind of schedule it a little bit. We're going to have weekend availability for this first year, kind of get my feet wet and kind of get used to what this is all about. So we're going to have a Friday afternoon launch at about 2 o'clock. And then Saturday and Sunday we'll do launches at 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Kind of give you the option to do the whole river, the whole day out there, or split it up and just do a portion. So we'll have the shuttles available as well. People, I know a lot of people are coming and bringing their own kayaks, and it definitely helps out to have that extra vehicle to get you back to your car afterwards.
But you will have shuttles then?
Yes. Yep. Yep. We're planning on doing shuttles for about an hour after each launch. So we'll set people off at 9 o'clock, and then we'll be out there until about 10 o'clock to help, shuttle people around, and then same, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock or so. We're going to be a little bit flexible. It'll be a little bit of an adjustment, but we're definitely willing to be out there and helping people.
What is your favorite stretch of the Pine River?
Starting at Rockbridge, between Rockbridge and D, even down to SR, the beautiful limestone outcroppings up there. You go right underneath the rocks. You've got the moss growing right there. It's just, that part of it is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. How long approximately does it take if you're going to do the whole shebang?
It's a good full day. It's probably 7-8 hours from Rockbridge down to Old Mill Pond Park. The river winds quite a bit in there. It's only a few miles by the road, but there's quite a bit of water to go down.
I think there's a caveat. I think there's a caveat to add to that, and that is depending on your kayaking ability. Because I've seen some folks that's like, that's going to be more like 12 hours. But I would say 8 hours is a good way to. I've done it. It's about an 8-hour trip if you can go somewhat straight and not run into the trees, and there's a good way to get through there. And to also say, if you go out on social media or if you go out on the website right now, GreaterRichlandTourism.com, you'll see the video of kayaking around those areas that Jen's talking about. It is really beautiful.
Do people still go beyond to Twin Bluffs if they want to, or is that not really cleaned out?
The truly adventurous people will do that. And it's kind of have at it. So when we were at Canoacopia, you saw those folks, right? There are people that will go kayaking where no other kayak has ever been before. And God bless them. I'm not doing that. But that's the adventurous spirit in some folks, and you can do that. And you could. I know people who have kayaked all the way to Gotham right to the Wisconsin River. So it can be done. I probably won't be doing it myself. And just understand, if you do that, you're on your own.
Right. The kayaks that you have, you've got a good number of them, I presume, don't you?
Yeah. We're planning on having about 10 on a trailer at a time. So, that's kind of where we're starting. But yeah, we're going to have hopefully lots of people out there on the river every weekend.
If people are looking at buying one, they're all different price ranges, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What do you suggest?
It depends on where you're going to be taking it to. Around here, the shorter, kind of more economical, cheaper, you can find them at Walmart, Tractor Supply for $200 or $300. If you're looking at going out, in the lakes and things, you're going to want maybe a bigger kayak. But around here, you can find them pretty affordable. And I'm finding a lot of people, have them available online too for sale, Facebook Marketplace, that kind of thing.
You said you wanted to get your feet wet, which was a pun intended, I presume, anyway.
Yes.
But what do you see for the future, Jen? What would you like to see? Do you have any goals here?
Yeah. Well, talking about going all the way down to Gotham, I think maybe Dale Bender was involved in that back in the day, and they did have it cleared at one time all the way down. That would be incredible. Even thinking about going up north a little bit further, towards, I think it might be wide enough for a kayak north of Rockbridge up towards Yuba area. So on the kayak side, I definitely want to, stretch that out a little bit. I'm also hoping to have some campsites available along the Pine, about halfway between Rockbridge and Richland Center. It's a work in progress, and permitting is also, in progress, but I'm hoping to have some spots for people to camp halfway, so you can go and do a 4-hour trip, 3-4-hour trip, and then stay the night and go on down into town the next day.
It's a great family thing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, families love to be out on the water and camping, and just getting people outdoors in the summertime is great.
Making good memories. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
The winter always has effect on the Pine River, but I think it was fairly mild this past winter wasn't it, Marty?
Well, it was until the wind came.
Oh, the wind? It wasn't necessarily the high water.
It was really, yeah. What was unique, we saw was, well, we were in a drought. We were a drought area. And then this spring, we did get quite a bit of rain. And when Dennis and I first were going out, it was only a day after it had rained for like 2 days in a row. And the river was right at the right level you would expect. It did not change. Well, the ground wasn't saturated. It soaked everything up. So flooding can be a problem. The winter definitely can be an issue. But this last winter, we didn't see a lot of effect from like a thaw and then a bunch of water runoff because we didn't have that much snow. It was more the wind. There's one, if you go kayaking down the Pine in the next year, you're going to see this tree when you get to North Park that we call it the Widowmaker because it was, to say it's 100 years old is probably undercutting its age. It was a huge tree. And it's one of those you look at and it's like, okay, what are we doing with this thing? Because you're not removing the whole thing. And really, in most cases, we don't. And Mark always said, don't remove the whole tree. And I heard even some folks who are willing to help us that are seasoned kayakers with getting things cleared, don't remove it all because the obstacle is part of the fun too. And on this one, I joke that we have a second natural bridge on Pine River now. We have the one in Rockbridge, and now we have the one in the tree where you'll go right under it. It's a huge tree, and we just took out enough pieces that we could, number one, and that I care to, and then number two, it really creates kind of a cool, you're going under the tree. And you can sit upright. You can go right under it, sitting upright. It's that big. So it's about a 5-foot clearance to where you could some people could stand up and they'd be fine.
That makes it fun.
The wind, it really was the wind because the roots and everything just tipped up and went, and it's formidable.
Really, about the only rapids, so to speak, are right at the end.
Yeah, where the dam used to be. We always tell folks just kind of be ready for it. It doesn't rate as a class rapids. It's just there's some rocks and some foundation still there. And at Canoecopia, when you start talking about what kind of kayaks you should get, oh my gosh, I did not realize the range of kayaks. I thought everybody goes, like you had mentioned, Farm and Tractor Supply and get a nice kayak, which they do. They have nice kayaks there. Locally, you can get some nice ones. You get to Canoecopia and they've got foldable kayaks that fold up and literally you can put in the bed of your truck and have it enclosed, and it's just, it's like a suitcase almost.
Easier to store then.
Well, you can go anywhere with them. There's inflatable kayaks. There's all kinds. And so it's fishing kayaks. So there's, I don't know at what point it went off the rails, but it went from buying a kayak to what kind of a kayak would you like? And whatever your thing is, they've got them, and because they've got specific fishing kayaks. There was even one across from us. This was new to me this year. There was one across from us at Canoecopia that was a sail kayak. They had a sail for it. So you could be out in a big lake, open water, and have a little bit of help there. So, yeah, it's wild how many different kinds and variations. But Jen's absolutely correct. We'll have some canoe folks that'll be like, can I canoe the Pine River? You can. I wouldn't bring a long canoe. It would need to be a short canoe.
Okay. Certainly, it sounds like, as Marty mentioned, people of all ages and abilities and everything else. If you've never done it before, I'm sure people are a little bit apprehensive sometimes. So what do you tell them?
You just get out there and try it. The river's not that deep, so worst case, you'll get a little wet. But no, I encourage people to try it if they never have. Like Marty said, there's, especially from Bowen's Mill south, it's cleaned up and it's real nice to get through there. It's pretty enjoyable and, a little more relaxing, less of that challenge, I think, when you get closer to town. So there's definitely stretches for everybody.
Which weekends do you anticipate being the busiest ones? We're kind of underway with that, aren't we?
Yeah. Like Marty said at the beginning, the weather just turns like nothing, all of a sudden it's 70, 80 degrees and we want to be out there. So, Memorial Day, is probably going to be busy. The holidays usually are. The weekends that we've got other festivals and things going on in town, we're hoping to kind of partner with some other businesses maybe around and help get the word out and maybe plan some events and things over the summer to get people out there.
Which is the best way to contact you, Jen?
Yeah. I've got a phone number for the business, 608-608-0932. And I've also got a website. My business I'm calling 13 Pines RC. So 13pinesrc.com, and it's the word 13 spelled out. I have places that you can book the kayak stays on there, and I've got some maps of the river and things like that out there. So you can find my contact info there.
That's an exciting adventure for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with that. It sounds like we're pretty well set for the season, Marty.
We are. I'm a lot better at ease on this than I was 6 months ago. So, and also just so everybody's aware, you can connect to 13 Pines through GreaterRichlandTourism.com. You'll see in the outdoor experiences drop-down box, and then you'll see where kayaking and information will link to Jen's website as well.
We have parades coming up. We don't want to overlook the Memorial Day Parade and the Rodeo Parade, but people need to start thinking about their entries. So
they do. You know, we're getting close to where we're almost a month out to the Rodeo and Dairy Days Parade. And we do have folks getting their parade entries in. We'd like to see those come in sooner rather than later, but I also understand I'm the guy that shows up at church 3 minutes before it starts, so I can't throw stones on that one. But we do encourage, if you go to GreaterRichlandTourism.com, right on the front banner, you'll see the rodeo parade and the entry. Just hit that, and it'll take you right to the registration form. Social media, you'll see that. I'll be promoting the kayak rental on social media as well, but you'll always see links there for the parade registration form. And then the last, best, if you just are not connected online, then you can always call our office, Greater Richland Tourism, and I can take that information over the phone, or you leave a message and I'll get that information. But just feel free to give us a call, 608-630-2452. You'll actually get me direct on that if you call that number. So,
some other things you wanted to talk about, Marty, before we let you go?
This is the time of year when you will hear me other episodes start to talk about the effect of tourism marketing and promotion, and we always want to make sure that what we are doing is benefiting the area and paying off. You kind of what we would call back in my last career, the return on investment. And this is the time of year where we will get that direct visitor spending report from the Department of Tourism, Department of Revenue. And that's the report that tells us how much people spent as visitors to Richland County and to our area. And really the last two years, we've really seen a nice increase in that. The direct visitor spending increase each year, the last 2 years, has increased an average of $2.5 million each year, which for a county like Richland County, that's a big number. We're anticipating this year will be another good report. We don't know that yet. We're just using the indicators that we've used in the past that do seem to have a correlation. So what I mean by that is one of the items we can measure as we're going through, that's the problem, right? You go through the year with your marketing and your campaign and everything you're doing, thinking it's going to work, but you don't get a report until 6 months after that year is over to tell you, did you do the right, did that work? But what we can do is we can look at our website and we can measure who's coming to look at the website, how many, and really the key is how many new visitors. And with that, we're starting to see that correlation each year that as our website traffic is growing, the direct visitor spending, which is what actually benefits the area, because remember, direct visitor spending in this area also increases that 0.5% sales tax, not to mention the businesses and then the other auxiliary things that happen, such as jobs creation and profit for local business owners. But on our web traffic in 2024, so this is the indicator we're using to think we're doing the right thing, and now we'll learn here in the next 3 to 4 weeks. In 2024, our website traffic grew by 72%. And that was following an increase in 2023 of 49%. And those are new visitors. That's not somebody sitting at home coming back and coming back. It's a new visitor is defined by every 90 days. They would have had to wait. So they would have had to have looked, been on the website, and then waited 90 days to come back again to be a new visitor. So if somebody is looking and they come in over the course of a month or so, getting their lodging figured out, things like that, that's one. That's just one new visitor. So when you know that measurement, that's a big number. And then in the first 3 months of this year, we've increased the new website visitors in that 3-month period by over 3,000 people, 3,000 new visitors this year compared to 2024. So all of our indicators are showing us that, okay, number one, your marketing campaign you're using is working. Number two, you're getting new visitors. New people are coming and looking at our area. And then number three, we anticipate when we get that direct visitor report here in 3 or 4 weeks, it should be a real positive report. And last year, I'm just going to point out, last year when we got that $2.5 million increase on direct visitor spending in our area, we outpaced almost every neighboring county by, I think, if I remember right, I think our increase was one of the few that was actually a positive, that was actually an increase, whereas there were several counties around us that their direct visitor spending went down. So we've got some good momentum. There's some good things happening. The campaign that we're using, which we're doing direct digital marketing, so streaming advertising in the Milwaukee areas and in Chicago. And so we're seeing some real nice results from that.
Mm-hmm. Drawing people out here. Again, mushrooms, number one, coming up. Kayaking, probably, as far as hits, number
trout
two.
Fishing.
Trout fishing.
We didn't even bring up trout fishing.
Right.
The inland fishing, that season started last Saturday. When you see all those cars next to the bridge, they're not having a picnic. That is trout fishing, and we are well known, and not just in the nearby regional areas, but I've run into folks from Wyoming, Colorado coming here to do trout fishing in the driftless of the greater Richland area.
Good luck to you, Jen, with your new business.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in here today. And again, hopefully people will get a hold of you. And I can see people especially bringing in some family members for some of these holiday weekends. Give them something to do. Get them out from underneath your feet and send them out on the Pine River, right?
Be out in the sunshine.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with that, and come back and see us. And Marty, we'll see you probably real soon. Maybe when those numbers come out, you can come back.
Yeah, you'll hear from me there, and then we'll probably need to tell you more about the summer resource fair that we're having as well. So, and then again, just to encourage folks to get those parade registrations in as well. The more the merrier. We've constantly had this little growth in both parades that I organize. They've just slowly been increasing the numbers. We'd like to keep up that effort. But everything we talked about here today, just go to greaterrichlandtourism.com on the web, and you'll see there's a lot of information there for folks.
Marty Richards, Jen Fry, our guests today on The Morning Show. We'll have more coming up tomorrow. In fact, we'll talk a little bit more about the Muscadet Morel Fest and some things going on there during tomorrow's show.